Dating was supposed to get easier with apps. Swipe left, swipe right, meet someone for coffee, hope they're not a serial killer. Simple. Except, it isn't. Because behind every perfect profile picture and every charming first message, there's a stranger you know absolutely nothing about. And sometimes, people swipe their way straight into danger without realizing it until the door locks, the smile drops, or the truth finally slips out. Tonight, we're going through 4 real Tinder horror stories from around the world. 4 people who thought they were meeting someone kind, someone normal, someone safe, but what actually showed up was something else entirely. Get comfortable, turn the lights down, and remember, you only ever know the version of someone they want you to see. Let's begin. It's funny, the things you don't even think about until they're gone, like feeling safe in your own home, the quiet of being alone. I haven't really felt either of those things in a long, long time. Not since the day I told him I just wanted to be friends. He smiled, said he understood, and I was naive enough to believe him. This all started a few months back, the way a lot of stories seem to begin these days. On a dating app. His name was Alex. His profile was normal. He had a nice, easy smile, a few pictures with friends, and a bio that was clever without trying too hard. We started messaging, the conversation flowed, so we figured, why not meet for a drink? The date itself was fine, just fine. Alex was charming. He asked the right questions and he actually seemed to listen to my answers. He talked about his job as a graphic designer and some hiking trip he was planning. On paper, he was the perfect, well-adjusted guy. But as the night went on, I just knew. There was no spark for me. Not a single one. It felt less like a date and more like a really pleasant job interview. So, when he texted me the next day, I decided to just be honest. I told him I had a great time, but I wasn't feeling a romantic connection and would rather just be friends. He replied almost instantly. "No worries at all," he wrote. "I totally respect that. Friendship is great." A wave of relief just washed over me. He was mature about it. He understood. That was that. Or at least, that's what I thought. The first weird thing. I brushed it off. It had to be a coincidence. About a week later, I was at a coffee shop clear across town, a place I almost never go to, when I heard someone call my name. I turned around, and there he was. Alex. With that same easy smile. "What are the odds?" he laughed, telling me he was just meeting a client nearby. It was a little strange, but it was plausible, right? We chatted for a minute before I left, but I had this small, weird knot in my stomach. Then, a week after that, I was leaving my office and I saw him walking down the street. That's when the alarm bells really started going off in my head. My office is nowhere near his. He saw me, and his face just lit up. This time, the excuse was that he was exploring a new neighborhood. Again, plausible on its own, but 2 times in 2 weeks? It just felt wrong. I kept the conversation as short as possible and hurried away, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. After that, the accidental meetings stopped, but the messages started. Nothing threatening. Not at first. Just unsettling. I posted a picture from a concert, and a few minutes later, I get a message from him. "Great band. I was there too, must have just missed you. I logged an obscure movie I'd watched on a film app, and he'd messaged me about it. It finally clicked. He wasn't just bumping into me. He was keeping tabs on me online. The dread started to build, this slow, creeping paranoia that I couldn't shake. I honestly felt like I was losing my mind, because none of it was a crime. It was just deeply unnerving. And then came the Tuesday night that changed everything. I was home by myself, trying to unwind and watch a movie. I'd just bought this new floor lamp a few days before, and I was just enjoying the warm light it cast in my living room. My phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. My heart started hammering in my chest as I opened the message. It was only 6 words. "Nice new lamp in your living room." I dropped my phone. The air in the room just went cold. I couldn't breathe. He was outside, right now, watching me in the one place I thought I was safe. Every excuse I had made for him, every benefit of the doubt, it all just vanished. All that was left was pure terror. I crawled on the floor, over to the window, and dared to peek through the blinds. I couldn't see anyone, which somehow made it even worse. He was out there, somewhere in the dark. I thought about calling the police, but what was I going to say? That a man I went on one date with sent me a text about my lamp. He'd never threatened me, not really. It felt like they wouldn't be able to do anything. I felt so completely alone, trapped in my own home. I blocked his number. I deactivated all of my social media for a month. I finally broke down and told my friends everything, my voice shaking as I admitted just how scared I was. I never saw or heard from Alex again, but the damage was done. That feeling of safety, of being secure in my own space, it's gone. For months, every little creak in the floorboards, every shadow I caught in the corner of my eye sent a jolt of panic through me. What scares me the most, looking back, is how normal he seemed, how friendly. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones wearing a smile. 2. So I moved to another state the summer between 10th and 11th grade. The new high school that I went to was known for being the richest high school in the state. Many of the kids who went there had BMWs, luxury vehicles, and sports cars. It was more common than not. I was definitely not rich though. That's part of the reason I didn't have a GF for very long at that school. No hate from me, and I'm not bitter about it at all. I never was. I just learned very quickly, and I easily accepted the reality that rich kids like to do things that cost money. If you don't have money, it's kind of hard to maintain any kind of a relationship, even a romantic one, with people who have money when you don't. Anyway, let me tell you about a dating horror story that occurred during this time in my life. So I had seen this girl walking up and down the hallways from time to time. She had this really quirky but sexy walk. One foot in front of the other, with a shake of her hip with each step. Hard to describe, but interesting to see. Let's call her Jane. I didn't have any classes with her, but somehow we met anyway. Well, we started talking and hanging out regularly. We even skipped classes together to hang out with each other. We talked on the phone regularly, and even had phone sex a couple of times. I was pretty sure that we would be high school sweethearts, and that I was going to lose my virginity to her. Like I said, her name was Jane, but she told me that her name was Angelica. She told me that she was 17, like me, and also in 11th grade, like I was. She told me that she was rich, like the other kids at that school, and that she was in all advanced and honours classes. She also said that she didn't care that I wasn't rich, and that I didn't have a car. One day, I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm approached by Jane's friend, along with a fellow member of the wrestling team. I had no idea how those two knew each other, but there they were, and they wanted to talk to me. They asked me to join them in the cafeteria. We found a table to sit at. Now remember, at this time, I think that Jane's name is actually Angelica. So the guy and the girl tell me, look, we need to talk to you about Angelica. First of all, her name is not Angelica. Her name is Jane. Angelica is her little sister's name. She likes that name better, so when you met her, she used that name instead. She's also not 17 like you. She's 14. She's not a junior, she's a freshman, and she's not in honours classes, she's in special ed. She's also not rich. She lives in the same trailer park as me, and the guy from the wrestling team. We all grew up together and played outside together when we were younger. We've known her for most of our childhoods, and she's been a pathological liar for as long as we can remember. We just talked it over between ourselves and wanted to let you know. It felt like the right thing to do. They went on to tell me other stories about her. Apparently Jane was fascinated by Egypt. So she told people that she was from there, and she was also a direct descendant of Cleopatra. She also claimed that she's ridden camels before. So this bombshell that just unexpectedly exploded on me felt very disturbing. It was a real bummer too. I knew that for her to be messed up like that, something had to be wrong in her home life, but I also knew that I was not qualified or able to help her. So I decided to go ghost on her, because I didn't want her problems to affect me. I also knew I'd never be able to believe a word out of her mouth. As time went on, I heard other stories from other students about crazy things Jane had said, so it was all true, what this guy and girl were telling me about Jane. Anytime Jane called me from then on, I'd either ignore the call or I'd answer and give an excuse for why I couldn't talk. At school, I avoided her by being the first to leave class and just going straight to my next class so that I didn't have to encounter her in the hallways during passing period. The worst part about having to avoid her was the fact that after the last class of the day was over, kids would linger in the halls or in front of the school with their cliques in order to chat and laugh among their friends before going home. At that time, she would come over to hang out with me among my group of friends, so I had to stop doing that after school was over and just head straight over to wrestling practice, because it was more important to me to avoid her than it was for me to socialise. I dropped out of high school the next year, and I joined the workforce. I was fresh out of high school and working now at age 18. High school was behind me, but I still kept in touch with a few friends. A buddy of mine named Josh told me that he was fooling around with Jane for a while there. I looked at him like WTF, and this dude tells me, "Oh, it's cool, man. She's a lot hotter this year. She grew her hair longer, dyed it blonde, got some cooler clothes, and waxed her upper lip. For the record, I never noticed any hair above her upper lip, and I always thought she was a pretty girl." I never understood why he felt the need to convince me that she was hot. So I said, "Dude, you're messing around with a girl that we both know to be mentally ill, and you're worried that I'm judging you over what she looks like." He got the point, but he kept doing it for a while, until he also dropped out of high school and lost touch with her. So then one day, I went to Hastings to buy a CD. As I enter the store, I see a flyer with Jane's face on it and a caption that reads, "This is my daughter, Jane. If anyone knows anything about her whereabouts, please call me. I'm her mother, and I'm worried, and I miss my daughter very much." There was also a phone number listed. 6 months or so goes by, and I met with Josh at the food court in the mall to have lunch, where he was also working security. Josh tells me, "Dude, you'll never believe who I saw here the other day." It was Jane. She saw me and comes up to me and goes, "Josh, is that you?" And I was like, no, I'm Josh's twin brother, Jeff." And then she goes, "I never knew Josh had a twin." So then I go, "That's because I went to military school." So then she says, "Oh well, tell Josh that Jane says hi, and that I got kidnapped and taken to California and raped." Then she just walked away. I told Josh about that missing persons flyer with her on it that I'd seen at Hastings however long ago. Sometime later, we found out that what really happened was that she ran away from home and stayed at a friend's house for 2 weeks until her friend's parents asked her to leave. I never did see her again after high school. I don't know whatever became of her, but I always hoped that she got the help that she needed. 3. Let the beast out. I had a nickname going as YSF666. It was a bad joke, nothing serious about it. A girl liked it, and we started catching up and went to our first date. She proposed me to go at her place. At first I was kind of yay. She was absolutely gorgeous. We arrived at her place. We start getting warmed on her couch. She stopped and asked me to wait for her to make herself comfortable. She came back and told me she wanted to call the beast. I followed her to her room. A pentagram was painted on her floor. She took my nickname literally. Kind if weird date. 4. I'd been talking to this guy on Tinder for 3 weeks, and he seemed absolutely perfect, charming, funny, and totally respectful. We finally went on our first date, and it was amazing. But when he invited me back to his place, and I saw his entire bed was shrink-wrapped in industrial-grade plastic, I knew I had to get out of there. That feeling in my gut. It was more than a red flag. It was a blaring alarm, and my intuition was screaming at me to listen. It all started the way these stories usually do, with a right swipe. His name was Ben, and his profile was the perfect blend of handsome, outdoorsy, and witty. For 3 weeks, we were in that little pre-date bubble where everything feels perfect. The conversation flowed constantly, and more importantly, it felt so normal. He'd text me good morning, ask about my day, and remember the little things I'd told him. We had inside jokes. It felt like he was genuinely trying to get to know me, not just some idea of me. He wasn't pushy at all. He never suggested I just come over, which you always hear is a red flag. Instead, he was a total gentleman and picked a busy, well-lit restaurant for our first date. He told me all about his job in graphic design, his dog, and this hiking trip he was planning. There was nothing, seriously, nothing, that set off any alarms. He was building my trust, making me feel comfortable, and I was completely buying it. By the time our date was a few days away, I felt like I already knew him. I was so excited, telling my friends that I thought I'd finally met one of the good ones. The date itself was just as great as our weeks of texting. He was even cuter in person, and he stood up to greet me when I walked in. A small thing, but it's nice. He was kind to the servers, which is always a big tell about someone's character. We talked for hours, laughing so hard that the table next to us kept glancing over. It felt easy, natural, and there was this definite spark. There was maybe one tiny thing that felt a little off. At one point he was talking about a past relationship and mentioned that all his exes were a little crazy. You know, that classic line that sometimes hints at a lack of self-awareness. But he said it with such a casual laugh that I, caught up in the moment, just laughed along with him. When dinner ended, neither of us was ready for the night to be over. "Hey," he said, "my place is just a few blocks from here. We could grab a bottle of wine and keep talking." I hesitated, but only for a second. I know you're not supposed to go to a guy's place on the first date, but we'd been talking for 3 weeks. The date was perfect. It felt like the natural next step. So, I said yes. The walk to his apartment was full of more easy conversation. He took my hand, and it just felt right. He lived in a sleek, modern building, and as we got to his door, he fumbled with his keys for a moment before letting us in. Then he did something that sent the first real shiver of unease up my spine. He closed the door, and I heard the distinct, heavy clunk of a deadbolt. Maybe he's just big on security, I told myself. But my heart started to beat a little faster. "Can I get you some wine?" he asked. his voice still as warm and inviting as it had been all night. I just nodded, trying to talk myself down about the lock. As he walked toward the kitchen, I glanced around. It was a studio, so the living room flowed right into the bedroom area. And that's when I saw it. His bed was made, but the entire thing, the mattress, pillows, duvet, everything, was covered in a thick, shiny layer of plastic wrap. It was pulled tight and taped down at the edges, like some horrifying art piece or a sterile operating table. My blood ran cold. This wasn't to protect against spills. This was deliberate. My mind flashed to every true crime show I'd ever seen where they find bodies wrapped in plastic. I thought of Dexter. A chill shot down my spine that was so intense it was almost painful. This was a setup. I had to leave. Now, my mind was racing, but I knew I couldn't let him see I was scared. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type in my passcode. "Oh my God," I gasped, trying to sound convincing. "My roommate. Her cat is sick. She needs me home right now." It was a lame excuse, but it was all I could think of. He turned from the kitchen, a confused look on his face. "Is everything okay?" I was already backing toward the door. "I'm so sorry. It's an emergency. I have to go." My hand was on the deadbolt. He took a step toward me, and for one terrifying second, I thought he was going to stop me. I didn't wait to find out. I yanked the lock open, threw the door open, and basically ran down the hall without a single look back. I didn't stop running until I was safely in my car with the doors locked, peeling out of there as fast as I could. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from him. It just said, "Shame you had to leave. We were just getting to the fun part." I blocked his number, his Tinder profile, everything. I have no idea what would have happened if I had stayed, but my imagination fills in the horrifying blanks. That night taught me the most valuable lesson in dating. Always, always trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. It doesn't matter if you seem rude, just get out. Hi everyone, thanks for listening. Well, that last one sounded like the beginning of a horror film, but I know they aren't the only ones with a dating story that makes their skin crawl. What's the biggest red flag you've ever ignored or acted on? Share your stories in the comments. Fun fact: I met my husband on a dating site. My bio just said, "We'll judge you entirely on your taste in horror movies." I didn't have any personal info on there. I just wanted to know if you liked Pennywise and if you thought Hereditary was actually scary. Let me know in the comments if you have ever met anyone on a dating site. If you liked what you just heard and want to hear more, as well as horror and creepypasta narrations, episodes from the Cursed Kitchen, and random spooky chaos, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to help out a little more, why not consider becoming a member and gain a few extra perks, including first access to videos, priority comments, emojis, and being randomly trolled in the credits. I mean, have your name mentioned in the credits, like Mark Mathen 7322. Stay for 3 months and I'll write a story about you. I promise you might not be the victim. Good night.